All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So, at the weekend, we saw Jake Paul knock out poor Ben Askren in about a minute and a half or however long it was. What did we get to see from this? Not a lot. There were warning signs, and I think obviously I'll travel back and explain that I predicted that Ben Askren would win. I assumed it would be a decision, and I assumed that he would be more than capable in stopping a YouTube slash annoyance in Jake Paul with the skills that he'd picked up across his career. I was wrong. Very wrong. And there were warning signs. For a start, Ben Askren wasn't in the greatest shape when he entered the UFC. I think when you go back to his Bellator and his one days, you sort of see his physique when he was, Olympic caliber wrestler. You see his physique when he was in one and in Bellator. It was a lot more toned up and impressive than he was when he was in the UFC. And then fast forward to this fight on Triller, and he was in much worse shape. The thing we have to remember about Ben Askren is he retired from the sport when he left one championship. There was then an extended period of time where the opportunity arrived for him to sign with the UFC. He had 3 fights with the UFC and then retired again and had hip surgery. He then came back to do this fight, knowing he was going to get paid at least £500,000 plus whatever the pay-per-view did, probably a round enough figure of about £1 million. He then steps in the ring with Jake Paul, who, when you go back and watch his previous fights, it is evident he has a punch on him, but can he box? No, he can't box. Or we certainly haven't seen him box yet. This has really depressed me. I don't know if you can tell. And I'm not depressed about it because my prediction was wrong, because that's what a prediction is, isn't it? You don't know the outcome, it just happens. I'm depressed about how Ben Askren went out. He gave no account of himself at all. He wasn't in shape. He put a lot of funny training videos up online, but realistically, he wasn't in shape. He wasn't ready to go. He reacted to someone who's been boxing for a year or two's feints. That was the excuse he gave. A body shot, came over for a straight right, and he was out. I thought the stoppage was weird. I don't know why the ref stopped that. It's not like Ben isn't a professional fighter. If it was Jake on the other side, perhaps I'd concede that perhaps stopping it might make a little bit more sense. But Ben is a professional fighter and has been for a very, very, very long time. So to stop it when he tells you he's okay, he's walked towards you like you've asked, you've done that weird shaky hand glove thing that they do, it didn't make much sense to me. In any event, that wouldn't have changed the outcome. I believe that was the beginning of the end, and if the ref would have let it go, the same thing probably would have happened. My frustration is the performance from Ben. He gave himself no... You don't look at that performance, right, from an outside point of view, not knowing Ben Askren, not knowing who either of those two are, and go, that guy looks professional. He was out of shape, and he offered no offence, and he got finished in a minute and a half. That's a bad account. If I fought Jake Paul, I'd like to think I'd have lasted probably around the same amount of time, if not a little bit more. Do you see the problem? I'm not adverse to him losing the fight. The way he lost the fight was dreadful. Really, really bad. And whether it's a payday or whether it's not, that's not really acceptable from a former Olympic athlete. It's not an acceptable performance. And I think that's my problem. Ben Askren's performance was not acceptable. And I don't care if you're fighting Robbie Lawler, you're fighting George Masvidal, or you're fighting Jake Paul, or you're fighting a bum off the street. That sort of performance is not acceptable. And I think that is my real bugbear with what I saw. So, congratulations to Jake Paul. It He did what he was supposed to do. He went out there and he beat the former MMA fighter. He's further carried on his name and his lineage, if you want to call it that, showing that he can take on a fighter. So he's moved from YouTube stars to former fighters. I think the frustration now with Jake Paul is he's calling out Nate Diaz, And this is the worst thing. A number of MMA fighters whose careers were on the downward trajectory were all calling out Jake Paul. Tyron Woodley, Luke Rockhold. He won't fight either of them because he knows they have good striking. He wants to fight Dylan Dennis because he knows he has no striking. So here's my thing with Jake Paul. If you want to do this and you want to box, right, fight a boxer. Fight an amateur boxer and let's go up that route. But I suspect he doesn't want to box. He doesn't want to be a boxer. He wants to beat up people he knows he can beat or hedges his bets that he can beat and make loads of money. And I guess that's fine too. My frustration is when that's a secret. Like, he's not telling people that. He's just trying to do it without us noticing. And someone brought up a pay discrepancy between what Robert Whittaker made and what Ben Askren made, saying it's disgusting. Oh, it's disgusting what the UFC pay their fighters. Oh, you have no idea. You're comparing apples and oranges. One's on pay-per-view and one's a one-off event. The other one is on network television. You can't compare the two models. That's why you have companies like Bellator who stay on TV, companies like the UFC that play both sides. Triller, the freak show stuff that they put on at the weekend is a one-off event. You start making Jake Paul box every weekend on a pay-per-view. See how many people start watching it. That sort of argument is ridiculous and it has no substance to it. So people online that are saying things like that, just please stop. Please stop. But in any event, the actual Triller presentation itself, the card, trash, really bad. I get they're trying to do something a little bit different with musical acts and stuff, and I guess if it was just a normal boxing show with music things thrown in, I might like it a little bit better. But having Snoop Dogg on commentary saying profanities every 30 seconds, swearing, saying all sorts of stuff. Like, I don't know why Snoop Dogg's involved. And this is the UFC's fault. They did this. They got him in on the Contender Series. And now Snoop Dogg's at every fight. I don't know why he's there, other than his name's Snoop Dogg. And people think, Triller think that people want to listen to Snoop Dogg commentate. Triller, we don't. We're not interested in Snoop Dogg. He was relevant 20 years ago. The last time I enjoyed something Snoop Dogg did was when he played a paraplegic in Training Day. Since then, he hasn't done anything good. So, Snoop Dogg, no. The musical acts, I could kind of get on board with it if it wasn't a complete circus, because that's what this was. It was a circus. The circus was in town. Oscar De La Hoya. Oh, Oscar De La Hoya. Oh, I think he was high when he was doing that broadcast. I'm not sure, but I think he was. Some of the things he was saying. The fact that he's coming back to box. Oscar, we don't want to see you box, mate. I mean, I don't. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm pretty sure they don't. I understand what Triller's doing. It's a bit of a cash grab, but it won't last forever. And they announced Evander Holyfield's fighting in June or something against, I can't even remember the name of the guy. But I can subscribe to that a little bit more, purely because it's fair game. Your Mike Tyson versus your Roy Jones Jr. is fair. I don't want to watch it and I don't particularly care, but I don't have an issue with it. I have an issue with the sneaky game Jake Paul's playing. He wants to pick people he knows he can beat. In any event, I guess to round up, the Triller card was trash. Real bad. Oscar De La Hoya, irrelevant. Snoop Dogg, I don't know why you're there. Jake Paul, well done. Ben Askren, you didn't do us proud, buddy, and you didn't do yourself proud. In any event, I've talked about it for 10 minutes, so I guess they've got what they wanted.